Welcome back. I'm trying to guide these bees over to our bee house. I don't know why you haven't suggested a bee house.
I think it's a good idea. That's a good idea, Jeff. You should build a bee house.
I'm going to use Soccer's bee house.
I mean, that's a pretty cool. You could put like a glass dome over Soccer's bee house.
Oh no. They lost interest in me since I had to switch to my blocks. Damn it. Crap. I lost them.
Well,
Bye, bees.
so much for the bee house. It was a good idea.
I mean, is there really a thought to keep them completely enclosed?
I mean, they do seem to drown in the water, right?
Yeah, they do. Well, I've seen them take damage in the water. And we do keep losing them, so I guess one would have to...
I feel like that's really unrealistic. Like, bees drink water.
I don't see why a bee just would drown itself in the water.
Right. So what's our topic for this video?
I had a very interesting weekend. I will say that. It started with... Oh God, I'm curious if you ever had a situation like this. So Julia's parents were in town all week because our one of the babysitters was out of town last week, so she was unable to watch the baby. So they came into town for the week so they could be our childcare. And on Julia's sister also lives right in the area, so she kept coming over, and she lives on the street, and her dad's been staying over at her sister's place because it has an easier way for him to be able to sleep and not like really hurt his back as much, like sharing the bed with with Jack and all that stuff. So
Right.
he was staying down there, and on Saturday morning I woke up and I heard, I'm trying to remember when you were here, if we had the baby gate made yet that you have to that blocks the top of the stairs.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I heard it open, and
Because Jack likes to throw himself down the stairs, right?
yeah, I mean, he used to. Now it's not as much for him as it is for the other baby,
Right.
the younger one. But I heard it open at 6:30 or so, and I was like, oh my God, he's up early today. But obviously, Grammy's got him taken care of. She'll come in here if she wants us to deal with them instead of her getting up with them. Because sometimes she'll do that. And she'll be like, I'm still tired. You guys need to get up and
Take care of your damn kid.
take care of your own child. Rightfully so. That could be okay. But luckily she didn't come in right away. And then I was like, oh, thank God, I try to get a little bit more sleep. But of course, once I wake up, I have a hard time getting back to sleep. Right away. So I was kind of just tossing and turning and relaxing in bed and until about 7 or so. It's only half an hour later. And Julia wakes up and I don't know, the baby started getting all fussy. I don't remember what. And she was like, oh, so he slept all through the night without a problem, huh? And I was like, well, yeah, I guess so. Like she usually does when Grandma's here. And she's like, well, no, Grandma went back to her sister's house throughout the night.
Oh
And
no!
I was like, what? And she goes, yeah, she didn't stay here last night. She went back to her sister's house. And I fucking jumped out of bed and went racing downstairs.
How old is the baby now?
It's 3. Well, this is the oldest one. This
is
about
Jack
to be
going
3.
there. Yeah.
Not the baby, the older one.
Right.
So, and he knows, he definitely knows how to open up the gate and things like that. So, he's never really done it. And he always, if he wakes up in his bed alone, he will, either call for us, come into our room, or if it's, the middle of the night, he'll, still cry because he's obviously still, sleeping, tired, and doesn't know what's going on. So I come flying downstairs to figure, what the hell's going on, and I'm expecting to see, okay, he snuck downstairs and he's trying to, he's just watching TV or something like that, Fucking nowhere.
He left.
I was freaking out because I am like, holy shit, he came down here a half an hour ago and he is just fucking, nowhere to be seen. So I'm thinking, okay. First thing I do is I check the door. Door's locked. I'm like, okay, both the doors are locked. And
Right.
I yelled to Julia like when I was why I was running downstairs. So she gets the baby and she comes flying downstairs and we're both like screaming his name and looking for him everywhere. And she's like, should I call the police? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, my phone is dead. I don't know why. Of course, her phone was dead in the middle of like every like chaotic thing going on. And I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know if you can call the police. Like, the doors are locked. I don't think he went outside because I don't think he's gonna go outside and then somehow lock the door.
Did y'all check
him.
his room at all?
Yeah. So I ran by and
Okay.
looked at his room real quick on the way out.
Okay.
So I'm freaking out and I start throwing open like the chest freezer and things. And I'm thinking like where a kid might think it's funny. He got up before us. Like, let's hide.
Right.
And, then you get yourself caught in a fucking chest freezer and you're like freezing to death in there. And, it'd only been half an hour. So if he hadn't done that, like, there's a good chance that we could still save him as opposed to had it happen like, earlier in the night. I mean, we cannot find him anywhere. Freaking out. So I grab my phone real quick and I pull up and I immediately just start pulling up the Nest camera. Because, the doorbell camera.
Right.
And I'm like, my body is shaking as I'm looking at it. And I'm like, 7:02 or something like that, or it'd say 6:58 maybe it was. Like I see the door open up on the Nest camera, and I see Julia's mom walk outside with Jack in the stroller, and they go walking down the street.
What the fuck?
Julia was just
So
wrong.
She came over in the morning and took him?
No, she stayed. Like, and that's the thing that I didn't understand is I was here when she went up and laid down with him and went to sleep, so I didn't understand. I don't know where Julia got from that she went to her sister's house. She never left. She was here the whole fucking time. So, which is exactly what my thought process was at night, because that's how I left things is, she went to sleep with him. That's why my mind was so at ease of, oh, don't come in here. Oh, give us some more time to sleep. Oh, yes, she didn't come in here, If I knew she hadn't even planned on leaving, I would have freaked out a little bit if I heard the gate open up, like knowing that my son was by himself over in there. So talk about having like ridiculous. I've never been so like, for the short time frame, the 2 or 3 minutes it was.
Right.
It was like the scariest 2 or 3 minutes of my life, because there was like this feeling of, I don't know where my 3-year-old son is, and I don't know what to do about that.
Yeah. No, I've never had this happen.
Oh my God.
I mean, I can imagine it being...
And luckily it wasn't real fear, or it was real fear, but it wasn't rational fear because it wasn't really an issue.
Right.
But holy crap. You hear all the stories all the time about, people getting, kids getting abducted from houses and, or kids, wandering off and, then something bad happens because, I can completely picture my son thinking, at one point he's going to be one of those kids who gets up early and is like, oh my God, I'm alone. I can do the things that they don't let me do, or I can, do a funny joke type of deal, and hide from them in something. God, he would be
my daughter's at an age now where I feel like it's okay to let her do her own thing in the mornings. So she gets up and I get her breakfast and stuff, but then I'll sit down on the couch and I'll fall asleep or something like that. And I'm not worried about her doing anything. But she still does the occasional dumbass thing where I'm like, why did you do that? Nothing that's her.
That's never gonna change.
Sure, yeah. But the other day she I heard her in the freezer and I was like, what are you doing in the freezer? And so she lied and was like, nothing at all.
Did you get out
and
the
I was
belt?
like, yeah, I got the belt.
I got the belt to go to.
So I started swinging. No, so I go and check in the freezer and she was earlier in that morning. She had filled a cup with water and put cherry tomatoes in it, and she was just performing an experiment. She said, and I'm like, "Why are you freezing tomatoes?" And she's like, "Want to see what they would do?" And I was like, "Listen, the freezer's not a toy." I mean, yeah, I was like, listen, the freezer's not a toy. If you want to do stuff in the freezer, because she also made like the water, like the floor was wet in the kitchen, and so like that was the other thing. I was like, why is the floor wet? And she's like, I don't know, I can't imagine. And
I can't imagine.
and so I was like, listen, if you want to do these type of experiments, this is fine. Just ask first, and let's try not to waste food too. So
Yeah, I mean, and I'll let like the 3-year-olds. I let him now. If he wants to come upstairs to his room and play, I'll let him go up there. Without like having to follow him. We'll kind of keep a very close ear out and like sneak up there and kind of see what he's doing. Because he's still only 3. But yeah, you gotta at some point there's independence that is being had by these children. So yeah, your daughter being her age, of course, that like she absolutely is gonna need some.
what age do you think it's okay to leave a kid home alone?
I don't know. I will tell you, I remember being in the 3rd grade. I don't remember if it was sooner than that, but in the 3rd grade, I had a necklace with a key to our house on it because I would sometimes have to come home. It was very, very short time frame, but for like an hour before my mom would get home from work. So my sister and I, though it wasn't just me, and she was 1 year older than me, so she would have been in 4th grade at the time. But I feel like that's pretty young.
Yeah. I was curious the other day, like what the legal age is. And I guess it differs by state. So there's no like federal law that says, but like in some states, it's 8. 8 is the legal age that you're allowed to leave your child alone. Not for like days or anything, but for like hours or whatever. In my state, the age is 12. So the most common legal age across the state seemed to be around like 12 or so.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. Yeah, and that seems young, but
like 12 I think is fine. Like 1 year away from teenager or whatever. Like 12 is fine. I think 8 is young. Like that's my daughter's age. I can't imagine leaving I'm okay with like me being in the house and maybe like not paying extreme attention to her, but I cannot imagine
I'm good with
like
neglecting my child, but
no, I just can't imagine leaving her here completely alone. Where like if she like decided I'm gonna fucking because she really likes to cook, so like I could just see her me not being here. I'm gonna bake a cake because that's her most common thing. She always wants to bake something. So.
And that is where it gets tricky, I think, too, because with a 3-year-old, I think he's got different things that he's going to get into that are going to get him into trouble. He's going to do something stupid and like stand up on a bench and like try to jump onto his bed and slip and hurt himself is what he's going to do. But he's probably not going to do something that's going to potentially burn the house down as readily, easily as like he's trying to bake something would, burn the house down. So I think that every age is going to have its.
I mean, yeah, like whenever
issues.
I was like 12 or 13, I got my mom and her ex-husband were like in like squabbling or whatever, and so we were staying with some people in a different town, and like I was there by myself, and I like me and the like boy who lived there, he was off at school or something like that. He was my age as well, and I remember him and I had been like playing with like aerosol the night before, like and lighters, basically like lighting up hairspray. And so that next day I was there at the house by myself, and I was like, I'm gonna keep doing what we were doing the night before, basically.
It was fun yesterday. It's gotta still be fun today.
So I started like writing shit on the walls with like lighter or with hairspray, and then lighting it up. Like I'd write my name and then light it up. I'm like, oh look, there's Burning Jason on the wall.
Nobody will know who this was.
Like luckily it didn't like stain the wall or anything. But then like next thing I know, I'm like,
don't leave,
don't leave me, stay. So
I want him to want this home instead.
I end up fucking putting it on blinds, like the little plastic blinds, and lighting it up. And I'll tell you what, that ain't the same as the wall. That shit burned immediately. Just melted, fell off the fucking wall, like plastic melted everywhere. Like it was a nightmare. And so like I'm freaking out because I've like burned up these people's blinds and like can't hide this. And so my solution is I break into the house next door and I steal their blinds and bring them over and like put them back up.
Did they happen to be the same blinds?
No. They were metal blinds, but no one fucking noticed. Like I got away with this for a long time, but I hid the blinds that I burned under my friend's mattress like an idiot. I should have like taken them to the house I broke in, or like luckily like the house next door wasn't like it was for rent, so there was no one living there. So I broke into like an empty home basically and stole their blinds. But I should have put the fucking burnt blinds there, but instead I hid them under his mattress, and like a month later, his mom found them. And so like I still end up having to fess up like later on, like, yeah, it was me.
Wow.
But I almost got away with that.
You changed them with blinds.
Yep.
That weren't even the same blinds.
I remember thinking too when I got them, because the only reason I remember them being metals, I kept thinking, well, these wouldn't have burned up. This is what they should have had.
So, out of curiosity, did you ever get in trouble for stealing of somebody else's blinds?
No, I don't know. I don't remember.
I
don't remember even getting in trouble for the burning of the blinds. I just remember like having to admit to it, and like him not Ricky was his name. I remember Ricky not getting in trouble because I admitted to me being the one that did it. But I still don't remember like any repercussions. I think there was too much other shit going on in our family's life for them to worry about punishing me for all of that. But
that is
yeah.
insane. Yeah. After this whole incident with, thinking my son is missing and, gone forever, like who knows where he could possibly be. Finally calmed down after that. And I walk over to the kitchen and I'm like, oh man, why is the kitchen floor like, wet? The dishwasher's leaking a little bit, like from the front, like a little puddles in front of the dishwasher. And so I open it up and I'm like, fuck, like it's not draining on the bottom of the dishwasher. So I'm going to have to, try to mess with it and find out why it's not draining and all this stuff. And
Get in the bed.
Hold on. I got this bee. Oh, I got 2 bees enclosed in the tree house. No. I'm doing the best I can. And so I start pulling all the pieces apart because I pulled the dishwasher down on the tenants and our dishwasher apart a couple times before when they got stuck, or wouldn't drain. So I was trying to make it drain. And I shit you not, out of nowhere, instead of it fucking being like, I went from the dishwasher not being able to drain, like it was just puddle of water in the dishwasher, to water was all of a sudden just all over the floor, like just pouring out of the bottom of the dishwasher. And I was just like, oh, and this is of course when everybody, after I messed with it for a little while, I ate breakfast or something like that, and then I started messing with it, and Julia had taken the kids somewhere, so I'm home alone, like working on this dishwasher, trying to get it fixed. The circuit breaker just keeps tripping, and it's like, it keeps tripping, like, and everything I do, I unhook it, and it keeps tripping, and I can't figure out like why there's water all of a sudden pouring out. A minute ago I couldn't get it to drain, now I'm messing with it, and it's just like fucking pouring like a sieve everywhere. I shit you not, out of nowhere, the smoke alarms just start going off. And I am like, what the fuck is going on? And I'm thinking, if I keep tripping the circuit breaker and the smoke alarms are going off, there's probably a fucking fire in the walls right now.
Yeah,
because
right,
yeah. I must be, the water's getting into something, and it's causing electrical short, and like we got like fire coming through the walls. So I'm running, and it's funny too because it's our smoke alarms upstairs that are going off, not the one in the living room. And I know what people are about to say in a second if they know any better, but I will explain. So I run upstairs because I don't see any smoke. I don't smell any smoke. Like there's no heat. There's nothing like that. So I run upstairs to where the smoke alarm's going off, thinking if it's in the wall, maybe it's just like wafting out like into one of the bedrooms, and that's what's triggering it. So I go running around upstairs, and there's nothing. And I can't figure out what the hell is going on. So I'm freaking out, running back and forth, trying to figure out why is our smoke alarm going off. The downstairs tenant calls me, asking if everything's okay because she's got water flooding into her ceiling and the smoke alarms are going off down there. So it turns out our smoke alarms, as they're supposed to be, but I didn't realize it was connected to the downstairs, but they're all interconnected. So it means if one goes off, they all go off. And the reason the one on the main floor didn't go off is because I guess when they did an addition on the house, they put in one of those Nest smoke alarms. So it's a wireless smoke alarm. Wireless interconnect, I should say. But the problem is it doesn't interconnect with old smoke alarms. So it's just kind of like by itself and not interconnected to anything, which is against code, but everybody passed us for it anyway. But all the other smoke alarms in the house are interconnected, including the tenants. So what the water apparently went down, and it tripped a circuit breaker and made the connection in the smoke alarm itself. So it falsely triggered the smoke alarm, like the electrical connections, which is what caused the smoke alarm to start going off down there, which then in turn caused it to go off everywhere else in the house. In the middle of all this, when the smoke alarms are going off, I'm trying to rip the dishwasher out of the place that it's in, thinking if I tripped something back there, when I'm still thinking there's smoke in the walls, that maybe the back of the dishwasher itself is what's catching on fire. And I pull it, and our cord, of course, it's one of those things that you can't pull it all the way out without disconnecting the water line first, because the water line is too short. So I'm just basically like ripping on the water line as I'm trying to like pull it out of pull it out of its spot under the counter. And finally we get the smoke alarms to turn off. And I'm continuing on to try to mess with this fucking dishwasher. And I don't know what to do. I'm assuming we're going to need to get a new dishwasher, because now all of a sudden it's just, I pour any water in it and I just look underneath and it's like just pouring out the bottom of the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Right onto like the electrical circuits. Never done this before, but I got everything all disconnected. I flip the dishwasher over and I just start ripping things apart on the bottom of the dishwasher. Not assuming I have to get a new one anyway. I'm going to tighten up everything I can. Turns out there's multiple pieces on the bottom of a dishwasher that are like screw-in connections. Like, who knew why? Like, what I was doing to mess with the inside of the dishwasher to make it drain, I apparently twisted something that was supposed to be screwed in, and it disconnected it, which is why now it was just like an open hole, basically, to the outside. So I put all this stuff together, and I'm like, oh my god, this might actually work. So I'm just like pouring buckets of water into the dishwasher to see if it's going to actually hold water, and it is. So I'm like all excited. It's actually fucking holding water. So I hook up all the water lines and stuff to it, and I turn the water valve back on under the sink, and having nothing to do with where it's going, the connections are going out to the dishwasher, the valve itself is broke in the midst of me doing all this stuff, and Jesus. Water just starts pouring out of the valve, like spraying all over again. So now I'm like soaking the house again after having just fixed the problem that I thought I had fix the problem that was like soaking the house. So I'm frantically trying to figure out how I'm going to now replace all this, like this main water valve, and not understanding how to do that stuff. Luckily I found a different way to actually get it fixed without having to shut off water the entire house and replace it. But that was my Saturday. That was all of that on Saturday this weekend.
Holy shit.
So it was a needless to say terrible weekend.
Yeah, that sounds rough. Action packed. Did y'all talk? Like, what happened after you realized that the mother had taken the child?
I mean, not much. That's something relatively normal that she'll do, especially on the weekend. She'll get up and she'll
I think that, obviously, like the grandma taking the kid out, that's totally fine. But I was just wondering, like, I could just imagine afterwards you'd be like, but why? I mean, I don't know. I probably lost my mind. Like, how did you think your mother was not here?
I did lose my mind with Julia and asking that, like how do you think that she was gone? And she did apparently talk about going over to her sister's house. But I don't know where the miscommunication was and why Julia had thought that she left, because she was up with her at one point, and then I think what happened was actually whenever Grandma's here, Jack always wants to, like, Grammy's more fun to like read stories to and go to sleep with, so I'll read him stories for like an hour, and I'll like go to turn off the lights and he'll be like, Grammy in here, and I think it was one of those that at like close to 10 o'clock, which is way past his bedtime, he was yelling for Grammy to come in there, and I think she just went in there and just went to sleep, and I think Julia just didn't realize that had changed plans, that she never came back out to leave because she had talked about leaving, I guess.
Right.
So I think that's where the miscommunication was. But oh my god, that would talk about heart skipping a beat, man. That was I could deal with the dishwasher thing all day long because that's just physical things that, granted, I don't want to burn my house down, and I was really freaked out that I had a fire in the walls for quite a while until I could figure out what was really happening. But I could deal with that all day, as opposed to the complete uncertainty of what happens to my child all of a sudden.
God, what would I guess the first thing you do if you had checked the nest and you just see him walk out the house is call the police, right?
Yeah. Immediately. Well, I would have kept watching it in order to find out.
To see.
And that was the problem. And of course, for some reason, Julia's phone, she didn't plug it in that night, and it was completely dead. I don't know why she did that, and it was coincidence, because I would have just been glued to watching everything on the Nest to see, because it'll constantly record.
Right.
And I would just be keeping watching it to see, did he run back by? Did he go back? But if I have to like stop and get on my phone in order to make the phone call, I'm going to be like torn between two different things. But luckily, it didn't seem to make much sense because the door was locked. But it is possible that he could have left and seen us lock the door enough times to know which button to hit that could lock the door. It's possible. Yeah, I don't know what I would have done if it was like I just watched him walk out. I think more of my fear wasn't watching him walk out on his own. It would be watching,
like the guy that takes your fucking mail to pick him up.
Yeah. Or even if it was like, oh, look, he walked out on his own. Good, he's fine. Oh, a car just stopped and threw him into it. Like, because then, like, what do you do? The desk cam's not good enough to see license plates and things like that. That would just be a car description, and now we know he's nowhere near us anymore.
Right. God.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do, because that's like such a scary event in general, because like I don't know what. Yeah, I don't even know.
I mean, I guess the next step, you call the police, they do an Amber Alert, all that type of stuff. But then, like, gosh, like, wonder what percentage of like kids actually get recovered in those type of situations. It's got to be a pretty low number.
I would assume it's a pretty low number. And, yeah, not something I ever want to have to deal with.
And honestly, like, if he had walked out on his own and like a police officer just happened to be sitting there or whatever, then suddenly y'all are like neglectful parents too.
Right. How dare we let our child leave the house?
You'd probably be like fighting Child Protective Services right now if that had been the case.
And it's funny too, because even if we lock that gate, he knows how to open it now. Like I said, it's not for him anymore. He knows how to unlock it and open it up. It's more for the baby at this point. He easily could get up in the middle of the night and walk downstairs and walk out of the house if he so chose to. Currently, it's just he has all the ability in the world to. I hope he's smart enough not to do it, and I hope he has no desire to do it. I mean, like I said, he always wakes up and wants us, so he'll usually come into our room, if anything, or if it's like a really bad night and he's like really tired and still out of it, he'll cry in his room until we go in there, which is less and less frequent. It's more that he just busts into our room and sees if we're there. He doesn't usually go the other way and try to go do things on his own, but God, give it time.
Yeah, like I feel like my daughter's pretty smart, but like she still does stupid shit sometimes. I mean, I guess that's just something every kid does, right?
Yeah, it's just what level of stupid shit is it? Like,
right? Is it gonna kill you or not?
Yeah, is it gonna kill you? Is it gonna make life altering, choices? Because you gotta remember, even when she gets old enough, when she's like 18, she can still do stupid shit. It's called like getting pregnant because unprotected sex and things like that. So there's always stupid shit to be done. It's just what effect is it gonna have on your life or possible?
Well, that's all that I've had to explain to her, like as a child, is like we'll be talking about something, and she's like, well, so and so said this, like just like something that's small, like a fact about like an elephant or something. I mean, I don't know, just something simple. And I'm like, and I'll like look it up because I'm like, am I wrong here? And I'll be like, no, here's the facts, and I'll tell her, and she's like, well, so and so said it was this, and they're an adult. And I've had to explain to her, like, listen, because someone's an adult doesn't mean they always know what they're talking about. That includes me. Like I could be wrong just as well as anybody else. So don't just believe everything you're.
But I never am. But I could be.
It could be.
I listen to everything I say all the time.
What the fuck was that?
What?
I just got dropped on by a skeleton and shot me in midair. It was distracting. I just didn't know what the hell just happened to me. Well, anyways, we should probably call this episode good here. Luckily, Jeff's child.
It's safe and sound. I probably would not be recording right now if he was not.
No, absolutely not. He'd be having a panic attack somewhere.
Uh,
So, anyways, yep. Y'all have a good one. We'll see you next time.
see ya.